Hi, it's Sue. Thanks for joining me for today's Bible reading for July 31st, and I'm reading Isaiah 13 through 17 from the World English Bible today. But first, I want to read you another blurb from the beginning of the book of Isaiah from a different version of the Bible. Now, if you were with me on the first day we read this, today's the fourth day of reading from Isaiah. On the first day, I read a little paragraph from my modern English version. They put that little paragraph there to introduce the book. Well, now I'm going to read the paragraph for a different version of the Bible because they all say something a little different and I find it interesting. And this is from the Complete Jewish Bible, an English version by David H. Stern, it says. So there's one paragraph and an outline that I'll go over real quick. So it says, and let me say, this has some of the transliteration of the Hebrew. So if I pause, I'm trying to figure out which word to put there or which one to use. It says Introduction to Yeshayahu, or Isaiah. Isaiah begins his ministry in a time when both the northern and southern kingdoms are declining politically and spiritually, and both threatened with judgment from God. The northern kingdom was particularly evil, having no good kings. Under the Assyrian king Tilgat-Pilneser III, it says that was 745 to 727 BC, so almost like over 2,500 years ago. And then it says the Assyrians began invading Israel. The Assyrian capital of the northern kingdom in 722 the Assyrian captivity of the northern kingdom in 722 BC makes Judah even more vulnerable to attack. So see, that's a hugely important event in Israel history, that they were taken captive by the Assyrians in 722. So it says sometime later, King Sennacherib of Ashur threatens to invade Jerusalem. Although the southern kingdom is spared from Ashur, it is nevertheless threatened by the coming Babylonian judgment. So you have the Assyrians up north by Israel, and then you have the Babylonians down south near Judah. They were west of Judah and Jerusalem over in the Middle East there. So you have these two big, overpowering, threatening, fearful, terroristic empires hovering over them. It says, in this context, Isaiah warns Judah and her kings of the consequences of the rebellion. God will bring the curses of the Mosaic covenant upon the people, ultimately driving them into exile. Parallel to these warnings are the Abrahamic promises of future restoration of the nation. So there you have the judgment and the hope. The prophets Hosea and Micah are contemporaries of Israel and preach similar messages to the same audience. So if you don't know, Hosea and Micah, those are two books in the Bible that we're going to get into. They're of the minor prophets. And again, you have the 5 major, the 12 minor, and those are really good books. In fact, I already have them recorded. They're on my playlist if you want to listen to those, Hosea and Micah. So it says they were preaching the same message. So you see here that God is sending them these warnings, giving them a heads up, right? And then you come down to the outline here. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bullets, and it says judgment and thanksgiving, national problems, 6 woes, events under, I think it's Hezekiah, it's in the transliteration, Hizkiyahu, I think that's Hezekiah, divine deliverance, the suffering servant, and the new heaven and earth. So there's another little blurb for you. Hopefully, if you're a new Bible reader, I really want to keep that in mind because you might have heard me say at the end of the reading the other day, I wasn't raised up with the Bible. I had a little bit of church experience, Presbyterian church a couple times, and maybe a Catholic church for a funeral or some friend's wedding or something. That's it, guys. And my parents lived a very conservative life. They lived by example, but we didn't have any. It was a very kind of secular home that I was raised in. So I didn't know the Bible. So I'm always sensitive to the fact that people were listening that don't know these stories and don't know these, what may seem really obvious to some people, things about the Bible. So, yeah. So let's get into this here. Chapter 13, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos saw. Set up a banner on the bare mountain. Lift up your voice to them. Wave your hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my consecrated ones. Yes, I have called my mighty men for anger, even my proudly exulting ones. The noise of a multitude is in the mountains as of a great people. The noise of an uproar of the kingdom of the nations are gathered together. Yahweh of armies is mustering the army for the battle. They come from a far country, from the uttermost part of heaven, even Yahweh and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Wail, for Yahweh's day is at hand. It will come as destruction from the Almighty. Therefore all hands will be feeble and everyone's heart will melt. Everyone's heart will melt. They will be dismayed. Pangs and sorrows will seize them. They will be in pain like a woman in labor. They will look in amazement at one another. Their faces will be faces of flame. Behold, the day of Yahweh comes cruel with wrath and fierce anger, to make the land a desolation and to destroy its sinners out of it. For the stars of the sky and the constellations will not give their light. The sun will be darkened in its going out, and the moon will not cause its light to shine. I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. I will cause the arrogance of the proud to cease and will humble the arrogance of the terrible. I will make people more rare than fine gold, even a person than the pure gold of Ophir. Therefore I will make the earth tremble, and the heaven will be shaken out of its place in Yahweh of armies' wrath, and in the day of his fierce anger. It will happen that, like a hunted gazelle, and like sheep that no one gathers, they will each turn to their own people, and will each flee to their own land. Everyone who is found will be thrust through. Everyone who is captured will fall by the sword. Their infants also will be dashed in pieces before their eyes. Their houses will be ransacked, and their wives raped. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, who will not value silver, and as for gold, they will not delight in it. Their bows will dash the young men in pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes will not spare children. Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans' pride, will be like when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It will never be inhabited, neither will it be lived in from generation to generation. The Arabian will not pitch a tent there, neither will shepherds make their flocks lie down there. But wild animals of the desert will lie there, and their houses will be full of jackals. Ostriches will dwell there, and wild goats will frolic there. Wolves will cry in their fortresses, and jackals in the pleasant places. Her time is near to come, and her days will not be prolonged. Chapter 14. For Yahweh will have compassion on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. The foreigner will join himself with them, and they will unite with the house of Jacob. The peoples will take them and bring them to their place. The house of Israel will possess them in Yahweh's land for servants and for handmaids. They will take as captives those whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. It will happen in that day that Yahweh will give you rest from your sorrow, from your trouble, and from the hard service in which you were made to serve, that you will take up this parable against the king of Babylon and say, how the oppressor has ceased, the golden city has ceased. Yahweh has broken the staff of the wicked, the scepter of the rulers, who struck the peoples in wrath with a continual stroke, who ruled the nations in anger with a persecution that no one restrained. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break out in song. Yes, the cypress trees rejoice with you, with the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since you are humbled, no lumberjack has come against us. Sheol from beneath has moved for you, to meet you at your coming. It stirs up the departed spirits for you, even all the rulers of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. They all will answer and ask you, have you also become as weak as we are? Have you become like us? Your pomp is brought down to Sheol, with the sounds of your stringed instruments. Maggots are spread out under you, and worms cover you. How you have fallen from heaven, shining one, son of the dawn. How you are cut down to the ground, who laid the nations low. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mountain of assembly in the far north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, to the depths of the pit. Those who see you will stare at you. They will ponder you, saying, is this the man who made the earth to tremble, who shook kingdoms, who made the world like a wilderness and overthrew its cities, who didn't release his prisoners to their home? All the kings of the nations sleep in glory, everyone in his own house. But you are cast away from your tomb like an abominable branch, clothed with the slain, who are thrust through with the sword, who go down to the stones of the pit, like a dead body trodden underfoot. You will not join them in burial because you have destroyed your land. You have killed your people. The offspring of evildoers will not be named forever. Prepare for slaughter of his children because of the iniquity of their fathers, that they not rise up and possess the earth and fill the surface of the world with cities. I will rise up against them, says Yahweh of armies, and cut off from Babylon name and remnant, and son's son, says Yahweh. I will also make it a possession for the porcupine and pools of water. I will sweep it with the broom of destruction. Oh, I like that metaphor. I will sweep it with the broom of destruction, says Yahweh of armies. Yahweh of armies has sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it happen, and as I have purposed, so shall it stand, that I will break the Assyrian in my land and tread him under foot of my mountains. Then his yoke will leave them and his burden leave their shoulders. This is the plan that is determined for the whole earth. This is the hand that is stretched out over the nations. For Yahweh of armies has planned, and who can stop it? His hand is stretched out, and who can turn it back? This burden was in the year that King Ahaz died. Don't rejoice, O Philistia, of all of you, because the rod that struck you is broken. For out of the serpent's root an adder will emerge, and his fruit will be a fiery flying serpent. Well, that's bizarre. Let me read that again. Verse 29. Don't rejoice, O Philistia, all of you, because the rod that struck you is broken. For out of the serpent's root an adder will emerge, and his fruit will be a fiery flying serpent. The firstborn of the poor will eat, and the needy will lie down in safety, and I will kill your root with famine, and your remnant will be killed. Howl, gate, cry, city. You are melted away, Philistia, all of you, for smoke comes out of the north, and there is no straggler in his ranks. What will they answer the messenger of the nation that Yahweh has founded Zion, and in her the afflicted of his people will take refuge? Chapter 15. The burden of Moab. The burden of Moab. For in a night Ar of Moab is laid waste and brought to nothing. For in a night Ker of Moab is laid waste and brought to nothing. They have gone up to Baith and to Dibon, to the high places, to weep. Moab wails over Nebo and over Medeba. Baldness is on all of their heads. Every beard is cut off. In their streets they clothe themselves in sackcloth. In their streets and on their housetops everyone wails, weeping abundantly. Heshbon cries out with Elilah. Their voice is heard even to Jahaz. Therefore the armed men of Moab cry aloud. Their souls tremble within them. My heart cries out for Moab. Her nobles flee to Zor, to Eglath, to Shalishiah, for they go up by the ascent of Luhith with weeping, for on the way to Horonaim they raise up a cry of destruction. For the waters of Nimrin will be desolate, for the grass has withered away, the tender grass fails, and there is no green thing. Therefore they will carry away the abundance they have gotten, and that which they have stored up over the brook of the willows. For the cry has gone around the borders of Moab, its wailing to Eglaim, and its wailing to Beer Elim. For the waters of Dimon are full of blood. For I will bring yet more on Dimon, a lion on those of Moab who escape, and on the remnant of the land. Chapter 16. Send the lambs for the ruler of the land from Selah to the wilderness, to the mountains of the daughter of Zion. For it will be that as wandering birds and as scattered nests, so will the daughters of Moab be at the fords of Arnon. Give counsel, execute justice, make your shade like the night in the middle of the noonday. Hide the outcast, don't betray the fugitive. Let my outcast dwell with you. As for Moab, be a hiding place for him from the face of the destroyer, for the extortionist is brought to nothing. Destruction ceases. The oppressors are consumed out of the land. A throne will be established in loving kindness. There's that word again. One will sit on it. Let me read that again. In loving kindness, not one word, it's two. Verse 5. A throne will be established in loving kindness. One will sit on it in truth in the tent of David, judging, seeking justice, and swift to do righteousness. So there's that promise of hope of Messiah. I'm going to read it one more time because it's so fabulous. A throne will be established in loving kindness. One will sit on it in truth in the tent of David, judging, seeking justice, and swift to do righteousness. So I love that so much because it's a light In the darkness, among all this destruction that's going on, suddenly there's a bright shining light of hope here. Verse 6. We have heard of the pride of Moab, that he is very proud, even of his arrogance, his pride and his wrath. His boastings are nothing. Therefore Moab will wail for Moab. Everyone will wail. You will mourn for the raisin cakes of Kir Hareseth, utterly stricken. For the fields of Heshbon languish with the vine of Sibmah. The lords of the nations have broken down its choice branches, which reached even to Jazer, which wandered into the wilderness. Its shoots were spread abroad. They passed over the sea. Therefore I will weep with the weeping of Jazer for the vine of Sibmah. I will water you with my tears, Heshbon and Elilah, for on your summer fruits and on your harvest the battle shout has fallen. Gladness is taken away, and the joy of the fruitful field, and in the vineyards there will be no singing, neither joyful noise. Nobody will tread out wine in the presses. I have made the shouting stop. Therefore my heart sounds like a harp for Moab, and my inward parts for Kir Heres. It will happen that when Moab presents himself, when he wearies himself on the high place, and comes to his sanctuary to pray, that he will not prevail. This is the word that Yahweh spoke concerning Moab in time past. But now Yahweh has spoken, saying, within 3 years, as a worker bound by a contract would count them, the glory of Moab shall be brought into contempt with all its great multitude, and the remnant will be very small and feeble. Chapter 17, last chapter. The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it will be a ruinous heap. The cities of Aor are forsaken. They will be for flocks, which shall lie down, and no one shall make them afraid. The fortress shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Syria. They will be as the glory of the children of Israel, says Yahweh of armies. It will happen in that day that the glory of Jacob will be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh will become lean. It will be like when the harvester gathers the wheat, and his arms reap the grain. Yes, it will be like when one gleans grain in the valley of Rephaim. Yet gleanings will be left there like the shaking of an olive tree, 2 or 3 olives in the top of the uppermost bough, 4 or 5 in the outermost branches of a fruitful tree, says Yahweh, the God of Israel. In that day the people will look to their Maker, and their eyes will have respect for the Holy One of Israel. They will not look to the altars, the work of their hands, neither shall they respect that which their fingers have made, either the Asherah poles or the incense altars. In that day their strong cities will be like the forsaken places in the woods and on the mountain top, which were forsaken from before the children of Israel, and it will be a desolation. For you have forgotten the God of your salvation, and have not remembered the rock of your strength. Therefore you plant pleasant plants and set out foreign seedlings. In the day of your planting you hedge it in. In the morning you make your seed blossom, but the harvest flees away in the day of grief and of desperate sorrow. Ah, the uproar of many peoples who roar like the roaring of the seas, and the rushing of the nations that rush like the rushing of mighty waters. The nations will rush like the rushing of many waters, but he will rebuke them, and they will flee far off and will be chased like the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like the whirling dust before the storm. At evening, behold, terror. Before the morning they are no more. This is the portion of those who plunder us, and the lot of those who rob us. And that is the end of today's reading for Isaiah 13 through 17. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. God bless you.